Good evening, everybody. This is more Wild Talk, but as you see, we have lost the Wild version.
Yeah, it's like a tame version.
It's the tame version of the show. He replaced me at one point, so now I've replaced Joe. Joe is on vacation, and he is a new grandfather. He and Glenda, well, Glenda's not a grandfather, but...
So they had their first grandchild,
Yeah.
and then they ran off to the mountains right after.
Yes, they did.
So
yes, they did.
Just how much they can really take there.
Yes, this is true. So we are on, and we're excited. I'll just kind of tell you where you can, if you want to be a part of this, we're trying to make this more of where you can join in with us in the comments. Haley, our intern, who's not going to be with us much longer. She's with us tonight, and she's going to be answering questions or giving us these things. But the question we're going to be looking at is, if I could ask Jesus one question, what would it be?
Yep, and knowing that you're going to get an answer right afterwards. Like, you ask him one question, and I like to think of it like sitting over with coffee, drinking coffee with you, and you ask him one question, knowing he's about to respond. Yeah. And we got more submissions than any other question show. Like, we have a whole sheet of submissions here, and so we have quite a bit to go through tonight.
Yeah,
a lot of questions.
We do. Well, while we're waiting on people to get here, Peyton, why don't you tell us? Peyton, you're preaching this week.
I am.
Giving me a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, so Tracy blesses me with, when you're working through Genesis, and every time we get to a difficult part of Genesis, he always comes to my office, says, "Do you want to preach this week?"
I try to give you the bad stuff.
Yeah, so the first one, the first time I preached in this series, well, I got the image of God, but then after that, I got the conversation between the serpent and the woman.
Yeah.
The fall, the failing of humans, and this week we're going to be on the flood. So, a question that many people have, both new to the Bible and have been reading in their entire life: how could a good God send a flood? Why would a good God send a flood to eradicate human beings? The ones that he made in his image that he calls very good. Yeah. So it's a good question.
Maybe one that you submit.
Maybe one that maybe that's a question you'll ask is, why would you do such a thing, God? Or Jesus? That's a whole Trinity question.
But you're hoping to answer that question, so you don't want to waste your one question on one that you might be.
That's right. That's right. If you follow our online experience, if you're not here locally, you can go to verobeach.church/online. There you can watch it if you want to know what I think and what my studies, what I found, or you can join us in person 9:30 here at the building. So
yeah, and you and I did do a podcast this week. Is it on?
It is up. A brand new episode of The Bible Peel is up. This is episode 8. We're almost at 10. I can't believe we're already there. But it's a more in-depth, an hour-long discussion on the flood. And it's our research and development of the sermon in a podcast form that you can listen to anytime. So that's up, thebiblepeel.com. Wherever you find podcasts, type in The Bible Peel, you'll find it there.
Yes. And I think we need to have a brief conversation about our tropical storm that's out there.
Sure.
Or I don't even know if it's a tropical storm yet, but it's supposed to come up the East Coast. So just for our members, continue to watch your emails, Facebook, the church site, and so forth. If we were to cancel services, we'll definitely get that out. But the beauty of that is, if we do, and you have power...
And you have power and internet and all of that.
Yeah,
yes.
You can still get our online virtual worship.
Yeah.
That is verobeach.church.
Yeah.
And you can go on there on Sunday morning and be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But right now we're planning on being here because we never know what hurricanes are going to do. Tomorrow morning it could just be going,
backwards almost.
Yeah, to Ireland or something.
Yeah.
So just kind of keep that in mind, especially those of you who are here. I do want to do this especially while Joe's not here. He's been giving us these Korean baseball standings. So I thought, especially this week, Joe's gone, and my team is leading in the Major League Baseball.
Then perfect time.
So
baseball.
The Cubs are 4-2. They are leading the National League Central. The Braves are 3-3, still very good, and they are in the NL East, and they are behind the Marlins.
Wow,
the Marlins
have
sad. Like 17 of their 31 roster that has COVID right now. Of course, they haven't been playing, so they are ahead just simply by percentages. That's the only reason. And Tampa Bay, another one of our local teams. They are 4-2 in the AL East. They're doing well. They're just right behind the Yankees. Again, it's a percentage thing at this point. But let's go ahead, Peyton. I think we've got enough folks on here now. We can get into our questions.
Yeah, and again, the question, if you want to submit yours, if you could ask Jesus any question, knowing he's going to respond to it immediately, what question would you ask? We have a lot of submissions, but we have someone watching the comments, and they'll make sure yours gets read as well. And, I mean, we're not Jesus, so we're not going to answer them necessarily, but we can at least highlight them and show you. A lot of us are thinking the same thing, asking the same kind of questions.
Yeah. But I think we ought to cover some of the funny ones first.
Yeah, let's kind of warm up to this.
Peyton and I both put on our Facebook page, if you could ask Jesus one question, what would it be? And we did get a few funny ones. You want to share one of yours?
Yeah, one of my friends from Colorado, he asked, and this is only going to be a small fan group, but he asked, what was buried on Oak Island? So there's a whole TV show.
Yes, I've seen
that. I know my father-in-law, David Russell, he'll appreciate that one, but maybe Jesus has some insight of what was buried there. So that was his question. Another one from my friends from Oklahoma. He wants to ask if Jesus walked and lived with us today, Bell or Bueno? Taco Bell, Taco Bueno. Which one do you prefer?
Taco Bell. I'll go ahead and answer that one.
I like to think Jesus, he's from Galilee, so he'd be from a small town in Texas, and he's going for that casa. Taco Casa is where he's going to be if he's going to go for a taco joint. So that's what I think he would answer, but Bell or Bueno. So,
all right. So my brother, Winter Haven, Florida, he put, why did you let Tracy shave his beard?
We're all asking that.
I'm asking myself that question too because I just look ridiculous. And another one from West Palm Beach. Why are there flying cockroaches?
Like why cockroaches in general?
Yeah, but these fly.
Well, I had one of mine ask why mosquitoes. And being in Florida, that's a very real question. I don't think they have really any value. So maybe you can correct me. Please correct me because I would love an excuse for there to be mosquitoes. Because right now I see none.
No.
So mosquitoes, why was that necessary in creation?
And my hometown friend growing up, he is now in Pine Ridge, Alabama, and he asked, why did I get blamed for eating your sister's Valentine's candy? And he did. Actually, what he did is he ate half of every piece of candy and put it back in the box.
Wait, so he got blamed for it? But he actually did it.
Yeah.
So that's why he got blamed for it.
Yes, but he's trying to act innocent.
Okay.
Yeah. We know you, Scott. We know you.
It's amazing that is what's on his mind. It's like he remembers that of all things to remember, and that's his question.
Yes.
Important question.
My dad was not very happy. I think that's why.
He remembers.
So let's kind of intersperse these, Peyton, with some of the ones that other people have put on here and the ones that we want to share ourselves.
Sure.
So Peyton and I have 5 that we have given ourselves, and we have changed them up, and probably by the end of the night we'll have changed them again.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and give us one of yours?
Sure. My first question that if I would ask Jesus is, how would you, Jesus, share the good news in today's world? And so like you're thinking like evangelism. And really, this question, especially as a minister, I'm always thinking like, how can we effectively reach people with the gospel and continue the good work? And, Jesus worked with what he had during his time. He was a peasant in Galilee, some kind of carpentry, probably did a little bit of fishing, was with no names, and he worked kind of in that sect and worked his way to the cross eventually. So I always ask myself, like, would Jesus be on social media? And part of me thinks like, sure, he's going to use the internet to advance his kingdom, but at the same time, there's a lot of bad, nasty things on the internet that I don't think Jesus wants to be a part. Like, he was a feet on the ground kind of guy. It's like, I'm not going to be in an office putting a post on Facebook if I can be out there loving somebody.
Right.
And that, man, for especially someone who really runs our social media page, that hits me a little hard. Like,
sure.
Am I doing it how Jesus would do it? I don't know. So that's the question. And how would you do it, Jesus? And can I take some notes?
That's a great question. My number one question would be, what would you like to tell me? And I'm not the only one who felt this way. Someone from Newark, Delaware, actually posted this, and someone else put, "Why do you see and what do you see in my life that is keeping me from being who you want me to be?" And this comes from someone from Nashville. But that is my number one question. You know, if I could sit down with Jesus, you know, I kind of would like a self-evaluation.
Yeah.
Because I know what he said, he has my best interest. And I know I'm human. I mean, we can't go through Genesis like we've done and not realize something about us if we didn't know it already. And just to know what it is Jesus would have to say to me.
Yeah.
And I know some of it will probably be tough, but I also know, and I love this Jesus.
Well, and that reminds me, or doesn't remind me, I have a question that's very similar to that, and it is, what are your purposes for me, and am I achieving those purposes?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying, like taking a self-evaluation of my life, what I'm doing, you know, am I living to my fullness, to my potential? And if I'm not, how can I correct myself? You know, in fact, we're going to be talking a little bit about this in Sunday's sermon. We're talking about the flood. How could this happen? And I'll just give you a sneak peek. Is part of the reason is because God knows the full potential of humanity. He knows what they're capable of in the good sense he created them to be very good. And he knows they're not reaching their fullest potential. And I often ask myself the same thing. Am I reaching my fullest potential?
Yeah. Well, let's look at some of the theological questions that some people had submitted to Peyton and I. I like this one. Could you please clear up the Holy Spirit confusion for us?
As a minister, that would be great.
Yeah.
So that comes from Lawton, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. So
yeah,
you have multiple
I had
people.
2 different people that like that. What did you write in the sand?
Now that is a good question.
Yeah.
So this is
Tucson, Arizona, and also one from Vero wanted to know.
Yeah. So this is in the Gospel of Mark?
John.
That's right. It's in the Gospel of John. Jesus is with religious teachers, and they bring out a woman, an adulterous woman caught in the act, and Jesus just starts writing in the sand. What is he writing in the sand? Another one from some of your people, when are you coming back?
Yeah, and I had someone else here in Vero just put this as well, but this one came from Foley, Alabama.
Yeah. So I think this is a question, especially these days, that a lot of people are asking.
Yeah.
It's 2020. Seems like a good enough year. The world seems bad enough. Like, can we just let this glory thing fill the earth and be over with it?
Yeah.
So another one, how are we granted freedom of choice when many times we choose poorly?
This came from Nashville.
So I'll actually talk about this a little bit in the sermon as well, where if freedom, if love is the goal, freedom is the means, and risk is the cost. And I mean, if I was going to answer this, I think part of that granting the free choice is the expression of God's love or Christ's love.
Yeah.
I want you to choose to love. I mean, what do you agree? Do you?
Yeah, I think that's what we see, just as we've gone through Genesis. You know, God wants us to choose Him, to choose to, you know, it's out of a love that we have for Him to choose over ourselves. And a lot of times we don't do very well with that, and I think that's what they're indicating here. But thankfully, Christ came, and the Spirit lives in us, and we're able to do a much better job with that, and we continue to grow in this love for God.
Yeah. Give us another one.
Yeah, where is the line between demons and or spiritual warfare with mental illness? Where is this line between this spiritual warfare, mental illness? This comes from College Station, Texas.
Well, I love that question. Darian, I know, is watching my wife, and she has a story of while she was working with a missionary in Africa. And this is a very real question for them. Yeah. And they say they believe, you know, people can still be possessed, be overtaken by demons. And one of the girls on this trip was asking, well, how do you know the difference between the two? And the missionary responded, or maybe it was one of the locals responded, and basically said, well, with mental illness, that person has always been that way. I mean, or at least you can see the progression of it.
Right.
While with these demon possessions that they experience, it's almost as if it's overnight. Like they just like something switches over.
Right.
Take that for what you want it, but that's a very real question for folks living in Africa, or at least in that village that they were in. So it's a good question.
And this one kind of goes along with it as well. Why do people have to suffer with mental health? This comes from Searcy, Arkansas. And I think that's part of being in the fallen world. I would love to hear what Jesus has to say about this personally. But there's so many people that suffer with this every year. And then one more in our theological questions.
I got one after you say
okay,
yours.
yeah. This comes from Nashville. Why was I born?
I hope that's what's my purpose?
Yeah.
But we know, especially in today's world, it could be like, why am I born? Yeah. Like, I don't see the purpose.
Right.
And that is like a crying out question.
Yeah.
To Jesus.
Absolutely.
Those are real questions.
Yeah.
One of them that I got from Oklahoma, what were you like as a child? Which I thought was a really cool question. So they asked, what were your interests? What games did you play? What were your chores as a kid? I saw another person ask, was the water to wine miracle at the wedding, was that the first miracle? Or were there things as a kid that you were capable of? Right. We don't know the answer to these things, but it's just a fun mind game to play. Sure. I like to think what sports, but Jesus was probably a basketball player.
Not sure what sports are going on back then, but probably a little different than ours.
Probably.
Let's go back to our top 5.
Sure.
Give us your second one there.
Yeah, so my second question, what does the resurrected life look like? I preached on this a few months back talking about the resurrection. And, we've gone through a transformative process before in our life. Mm-hmm. Like when we go from in the womb to out of the womb, it is a mind-blowing transformation that your body goes through. You go from breathing water, basically living in water, to living in air. Yeah. Like all of the nutrition that was once like your life cord literally is just cut from you, just no longer needed, just like that.
Yeah.
So we've gone through amazing physical transformation before, and we're promised in many ways in Jesus' teachings that it's going to be very similar because he uses birth analogy to talk about the resurrected life. And so what does that look like? Like whenever I go through that process, what will we look like? What will the world look like? Because I do believe all creation will be restored. So what's the resurrected life look like? I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So my second question is, how Jesus were we intended to read the Bible? And I think that's something we've, doesn't mean we can't understand the Bible, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. And we're 21st century Westerners, and we're trying to read this Bible that's filled with poetry and narrative and lots of things.
And in many ways wasn't written directly to us.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to the New Testament, and it's letters written to specific people.
Yes.
So we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I would like to know, okay, on certain things, is this literal or is this figurative? Mm-hmm. The sacred elements that we've been given, whether it be communion or baptism, for example, I'd just like to hear Jesus talk on that. Yeah. And because I feel like I'm missing something, And in fact, somebody else here in Vero, they had put in a question, which is, your baptism is an important account in our history book speaking about Jesus. What difference did it make to your spiritual acuity, that is perception, insight, if any, and what should be my takeaway, spiritual acuity from my baptism? And I think that person's kind of like where I am. I'd just love to hear Jesus talk about this more. Yeah. And it's like we have scriptures and we read them, but I want to hear Jesus.
I want to hear Jesus.
I want to hear what he has to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard Patrick Meach just talking about the baptism. I'd heard Patrick Mead preach on this one time about Jesus' baptism. Why did he need to be baptized if he is the Savior and people are being baptized in his name, the thing that he hasn't even done yet?
Right.
And so he looked at he was breaking down kind of the historical purposes of being baptized as an ancient Near East Jew. And many elements of it, or one major component, was you are identifying yourself within a community. And I just that imagery has stuck with me.
Yeah.
That, I mean, salvation for me as a Christian means far grander than that.
Right.
But one foundational thing, it's my identity. And Jesus would have seen that as like, no, these are my people.
Yeah.
I am still a Jew. I still live in this place. These are still my people. And now I'm going to transform this thing to something grander.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's move on to some of the ones that, let's
open it up real quick. Haley, do we have any in the comments that are worth highlighting?
Nick asked, he says, I would ask for clarification of the dead shall rise as it pertains to where our deceased ancestors reside now.
Ooh, where do the deceased live right now? Where are they?
Listen, there's always the debate over, do you go straight to a heavenly place? Is it a paradise?
Luke has a language of paradise or some like great chasm, this lake, and so it is a little like what happens?
I would love to ask Jesus some of those questions.
That's a great one. You got another one for us?
Darian wants to know when y'all's bathroom remodel will be finished.
When our bathroom remodel will be finished. Whenever I have a full weekend to work on it, I guess. But these are the moments I do wish I was Jesus. Not just even for the miracles, but for the carpentry.
Yes.
I wish I had some of his skills to put in implementation. Give us one more. Do you have another
Mary
one?
Gherkin, why didn't you, God, start over while there was only 2 people who had sinned?
Why didn't you start over, God, whenever there were just 2 people?
Right.
Good question. I'm not answering that in the sermon with the flood, but
I do think the flood kind of answers the question in some sense.
It does. Yeah, in many ways it does. So you can keep putting those questions. We'll try to highlight more a little bit later. But if you could ask Jesus one question, what would you ask him? Put those in the comments and then give us some from the love.
Yeah, these are some
category.
that, they're not theological questions, but I love the honesty. I love the,
These are the questions I see having over coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, can we meet? I got some things in my heart I want to talk about.
This is a Jesus who we see as more than just a person who answers questions. Yeah. It's someone we know loves us and sitting down with us. So the first one comes from here in Vero. What has my mom been up to? And her mom passed away a few years ago. In fact, I told her that there's something special back behind me. I figure she might have figured out what it is, but it's actually something her mom had made me. But I love that. Another one, how could you, actually these next 3 kind of go together. One is from Evergreen, Alabama. How could you love me so much?
No.
Another one in Talladega, Alabama. Why do you love us so much? And then another one from Scottsville, Alabama. How did you love us so much that you gave your own life to save mine?
And another one from Kansas. Is this really all for me?
Yeah. Is this really all for me?
Yeah.
Some beautiful questions.
Beautiful questions. And that's that rawness of knowing who you're sitting across. And that's the being awestruck in many ways.
Yeah.
Think of if you're ever in a restaurant, a celebrity passes by, and you just kind of lose words.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these, it's just like I don't want to get into the theology. All of a sudden, the theology, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And that's what's so significant. Whenever I actually think about if I was sitting across from Jesus, like church practice doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Theology, even the Holy Spirit like Jesus.
Yeah.
Is it?
They're not asking, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And I want to know those questions.
And I want to know those questions.
But I love these.
But maybe that first question, it really comes from the heart. And
it does.
Maybe we can carry more of that over into our worship of Him.
Yeah. So you got us a third. You're number 3.
Start
all right, I'll start us off.
Give us a third one.
What are you doing within the world kingdoms that that we don't know. In other words, I read the book of Daniel, and you see this angelic activities going on behind these kingdoms, even evil kingdoms.
Yeah.
And, I often wonder, because sometimes, and I think you see this in Scripture, it's like people feel like there's no hope. It just, everything it's got to fall apart.
Yep.
And then yet we see God had a plan, and he was doing something all along.
Yeah.
Or as we've seen even, a person that was born.
Yeah.
And it's like, and not just here, I'm talking about, other countries, even like third world countries in places that maybe we don't even think about. It's not even on our radar, like the big nations.
Right.
So that's a question I'd like to know is.
That's fair, especially in an election year.
Especially during an election year, yeah.
I mean, you're asking that question. It's like, are you going to use this?
Right.
Does this even matter to you? I mean, it's got to matter in some capacity, but
Right.
in what way and how are you going to use it? I mean, Genesis 50 talks about in everything man schemes for evil, God purposes for good. Like God is going to turn all of this evil in the world, and he's going to use it and do something through it to bring about good in ways that we can't even fathom.
Yeah.
And looking
And
at
I
news
think
this
often,
day,
and I do this myself, I think in terms, like the election years or so forth, what I have to do.
Yeah.
It's up to me. And it's like there's something happening, and it doesn't mean that we're not a part of that, and we shouldn't try to make good decisions. But we realize that, and we hear these fear tactics all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, God, Jesus, show me so I'm not fearful.
Yeah.
So that's mine. Go ahead. What's your next one?
My third question, what were your last thoughts on the cross? So Jesus says, I've heard people say, and I've even sung it in a song, like, I was the last thing on Jesus' mind. Like he's
Right.
thinking of me. I don't know if I'm fully buy into that camp. I don't know. I don't claim to know.
Don't know.
But I'm just really curious. Like, was he thinking of his disciples? Like, man, I hope I gave them. I hope I really did give them everything they needed. Was it like? Whenever he prays for the people doing this, was he thinking like, I'm gonna see y'all soon? Like, and I forgive you. Was he looking at his mother, or those John at the cross, and just like, don't remember me like this?
Right.
What was he thinking? I don't know. That's another just, fun brain game to play.
It is.
But if anything, that question puts me back to that moment.
Yeah.
And if he was thinking about literally me, Peyton Menzenmeyer, in 2020, I don't know. That doesn't matter to me, though, because I know what he was doing was for all creation, all humanity, throughout all eternity.
Yeah.
And so he was thinking of me.
Absolutely.
As this is for everybody.
Right.
So.
Oh, very good. So let's get into some of the difficult questions.
Yeah.
I've got about 3 here from different places. This is the way this person worded it from Summerdale, Alabama. Why give me a taste of being happy to just remove it completely? Another one, why do some endure unfair amount of suffering over the rest of us? That's from Rome, Georgia.
Yeah, I got one from Oklahoma, very similar. Why is the yoke so uneven? Why? It just seems, you see some people, Jesus talks about God allows rain to fall on the righteous and the unrighteous. But
right.
when you're in it, it's just like, why? That is a good question.
Yeah.
How about this one? Why did God create rich and poor, white and black, and dusky skin? Why so many variations in between humans? That one's actually from India. That's a question from India. Another great question.
Yeah.
Why do we look different?
Why are those? There's always this. Seems like there's a divide.
Yeah, and why establish these very obvious divisions between us?
Right.
Just like physical divisions. It's just like you're white, you're black. Clearly, there's a division of some kind, just in color.
Yeah.
So why are those established? Why not just make us all look the same, whatever that is?
Yeah.
And another one, why is this virus here?
Yeah.
What is your purpose? What's your purpose with it, God?
course, you're saying that God sent it.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all good questions. I mean, did he? I mean, maybe that's a question.
Did you send this virus?
Is this part of the plan?
Yeah.
That we don't know about? Is there something going on here?
Yeah.
So
there's something going on here that I can't see. I admit that, because in all evil, God can work out for good. God's doing something. I don't know what it is, and we as finite creatures never will fully understand what it is. But He is doing something. God doesn't just sit back passively.
No.
It's not one of those, I created the world, wound it up, let it run on its own, and then I'll just watch from a distance. Yeah. God is very involved. I mean, if you don't believe that, go check out John 3:16. Like, He is so involved that He allows the darkness of this world to completely encompass Him in order for Him to save it. That's a God who deeply loves His creation, and He's not going to let some virus ruin His plan. God is in full control. That's hard for us to grasp. I mean, it's hard for me even to say, because I'm like, well, if God's in control, why is chaos seem to be ensuing?
Yeah.
But God's going to work out His purposes. I have full confidence.
Yeah.
And I have full confidence that I'm not going to fully understand how and why,
right,
and all those questions.
Yeah. So let's get to...
Well, any more in the comments?
Oh, yeah.
K3's question for
K3,
Jesus.
my 4-year-old has a question for Jesus.
Can you please make it rain and sunny so I can see a rainbow?
Can you please make it rain and sunny? He loves rainbows. He's on the rainbow thing. He saw his first one. He says his first one just recently, and he would love to see a rainbow, Jesus. So I know you have the capability of doing that.
Yes.
So,
well, you got a rainbow coming up Sunday.
That's true. We're going to have a lot of rainbows, K3.
Yeah, big rainbow.
Big rainbow coming your way. What's another one?
And Sue Dotson asks, after I die, how long before I see my brothers and sisters?
Oh, another death question of what happens after you die.
Right. And really it comes, the question I've heard over the years is, will we know each other when we die?
Yeah, will I recognize?
I
hear often there'll be no marriage.
Right.
But
what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah,
right.
the covenant relationship won't be there, but the love, we're told, is still going to remain. So what does that involve? And so it's a good question.
It is. Great question.
No more from the comments. If you want, there's still time. You can drop in one question that you would ask Jesus if you're sitting over from coffee, having coffee with Him.
And let's do one more of ours.
We have one more each.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's mine. My 5th question: have you ever, Jesus, embodied a person's sins? So this kind of is stemmed from, you hear often people talk about, I feel like I met an angel today. Or, we'll have these peoples in passing and you just don't know where Jesus is. He is that beggar on the side of the road. And I really do wonder that. Jesus' incarnation was a huge part of the story. So there's a reason we have that accounting.
Yeah.
But if Jesus did it once, what stops Him from doing it again? Yeah. And have I interacted with Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, you basically stole mine. But
oh, I did?
So mine is, when have I missed you when you were there and
yes.
I didn't recognize you?
That's a good one. Yeah, it's a good way to word it.
And because, I mean, just like, I think it's Hebrews, it says, we entertain angels unaware. And it's like, is there an aspect of Christ? He's been here. Maybe He's trying to tell me something. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention. Or maybe I even rejected Him.
Yeah. What a man. Jesus, please keep that one to yourself. All the times I rejected you.
I know.
I can't. I don't even want to fathom that thought of just looking Jesus in the eyes and walking.
Yeah.
Keep walking.
Yeah.
It's a good question. And just something to think about. Like maybe He's right here.
And as we're getting ready to close out here, one of our elders says that we will make a decision about Sunday morning service at 6 p.m. on Saturday evening. So watch your emails.
Yep. Keep an eye on those emails. We want to make sure everybody stays safe. Right now, it's completely unpredictable what the thing's going to do.
Yeah.
I looked at one chart and it said it was coming straight for us. Another chart said it was going West Coast, and then it changes. So
change overnight.
We're really looking at when it hits the Philippines. No, not the Philippines. The Puerto Rico. Is that where we're at?
No, Bahamas.
Somewhere over there.
Hits of those mountains in the Bahamas.
It's going to hit some kind of mountain, some kind of place,
Yes.
And that's going to determine where it goes.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on it, but if love to see your questions if you have more questions.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we do these every week, and so anything you would like for us to do, I like lists. I like, here's our top 5. Here are things that you can interject. If you think of other ones that we can do, maybe not this, maybe it's another topic, some kind of discussion. Maybe it's something that's happening around the world. Maybe it's something else. But we would love to have you. So Peyton, thank you for filling in for Joe. Haley is filling in for you.
Yes.
And so you're filling in for Joe.
It's just a domino effect here.
It's a domino effect. And, of course, we have to thank our tech guy.
Yes.
Paul DeSalvo. He sets all of this up. He makes it look real.
And if you like the new setup, please let us know. Because I don't know how Joe's going to react to it. We didn't ask for permission. We just kind of set it up.
What we understand is Joe is somewhere where he doesn't get internet. So so we've got like a whole nother week maybe that we can hide things from him.
Yeah.
So, but if you really like it.
He needs to see that and hear that you really like the setup. So make that known in the comments. Really like it, or if you don't.
Or just tell Joe.
Just call Joe and let him know.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for joining us. Again, you can find all of our stuff that we're putting out on this Facebook page that you're on right now, on our website, on our YouTube channel. We're all over the place. And thank you for having me on More Wild Talk. It was fun.
You got it. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See ya.